We know that sexual health problems are increasing quite dramatically, and according to a couple of different surveys and research journals last year, about 40% or so of men and women experience some kind of sexual concern, or especially one of a specific of these four problems of either lack of interest, difficulty achieving erectional climax, and discomfort with sexual activity. So let's dive into why this is happening and how you can go about fixing these problems. So first of all, we know that human sexual behavior is driven by our certain hormones and neurotransmitters, chemicals that float around the body. You've probably heard of things like dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, vasopressin, and even our own internal cannabinoid system all have an effect on sexual behavior. We also know that the gut is one of, if not the main driver behind the majority of these hormones and neurochemicals, especially serotonin. But we also know the gut is intimately linked to our immune system, our nervous system, and our hormone system. So you can't have a gut problem without having potential problems in those other areas. So when we look at the conventional medical treatment of these sexual health problems, it's almost always pharmaceutical, which is no surprises there, because that's how they target everything, which I'm not saying is good or bad. I don't think it's great, and there are times we need to. But when you give someone a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So that's how conventional medicine goes. Let's slap a Band-Aid on the symptom. So if you walk into your medical doctor as a male and you have ED problems, they're going to give you a drug for that. They're not going to go and look at why you're having that. But the research is starting to show quite conclusively that we should be going to look to the gut first to help these sexual health problems instead of just medicating them. Because again, I said it earlier, it is very well established that the gut microbiome is very intimately linked with our hormones, neurotransmitters, and immune health. So if you have poor gut microbiome, you're going to have poor health in those areas. So it's no surprise that the recent evidence is really backing this up. And that's why scientists are starting to look more and more into this gut-sex connection. So let's look at some of the most recent science that's out there. There's a really cool study from 2021 in the Journal of Medical Internet Research where they specifically looked at certain microbes in the gut, serotonin levels, and the loss of sexual desire in women. So I like this study because they had a control group as well. We need that control group, otherwise it's just an observational study. So they took samples from 24 women suffering with hypoactive sexual desire disorder. Let's just call that HSDD so I don't have to say that mouthful every time. And 22 healthy controls. So women who had what would be considered normal sex drive. Results showed a very strong alteration of bacterial composition in the gut microbiome in the HSDD sufferers versus the healthy control groups. So in particular, they looked at a couple different strains of microbiomes. One that I can never say properly, the Ruminococcacea species, and they had disproportionately elevated levels of the lactic acid producing bacteria. Very well-known group, one of which is the bifidobacterium, which you'll probably see on the back of any probiotic that you're taking. Now, why is this important? Well, those lactic acid producing bacteria are associated with increased levels of kynurenic acid and tryptophan. These are precursors to serotonin. Serotonin is very important for mood stability. In fact, if you're dealing with depression or anxiety and they give you an antidepressant, almost certainly they'll start with the serotonin style antidepressants, which are trying to stop your serotonin from falling too low, because we know if it does, you're going to struggle with even more depression, anxiety, stuff like that. Hey there, if you're struggling with gut health, I just wanted to let you know about my free Facebook gut health support group. You'll see it on the screen here. Just click the link and you can join that. We cover all sorts of more in-depth tips on what testing to do, how to deal with underlying biotoxins, things like that. So jump in the group. I'd love to have you in there. Anyway, back to the video. That's why they use it for anger and stress management and all these kind of things. But there is a common side effect of these antidepressant serotonin drugs, which is a decrease of libido and sexual excitement. Why? Because too much serotonin will limit those things. So we need to find that right balance of getting the gut right so that you have the right amount of hormones and neurotransmitters being produced, especially serotonin, and not too much or too little. So for ladies who are struggling with this, going to the gut first is going to be very important, and it's probably where your answer is, and I'll get to that at the end of this on how you deal with that. But first, let's look at the men. Well, approximately 52% of men experience some form of ED or erectile dysfunction. A study in the Translational Andrology and Urology Journal did a pretty neat controlled trial group where they took 30 patients with ED, 30 control subjects, and basically tried to make sure all their health was otherwise as similar as you can possibly have. And the results revealed that the ED subjects had significantly lower gut microbial diversity compared to the controls. And we know that's important. In fact, according to one of the authors, this is a direct quote. He said, gut microbiota can regulate male erectile function by regulating hormone levels, inflammatory mediators, and other factors, because we know that normal erectile function is affected by the interplay between sex and non-sex hormones, emotional well-being, neurological factors, inflammation, and other factors related to environment, chemicals, genetics, and social dynamics. And as we know, the gut microbes can impact all of these things or be impacted by all of these things. So for men and women, if you're dealing with sexual health problems, sure, if you're going to medicate for the short term, that's fine, but you've got to go look to the gut. You've got to look at why this is going on. So the patients I work with who are dealing with sexual health problems, a couple things we start with. We look at a leaky gut panel to make sure that we can see how much leaky gut damage is already going on. And we may or may not do a stool test to look at the exact microbial diversity of their gut, because we know that more diversity means more health, less diversity means usually poor gut health, leaky gut, all these other things. Then, with those tests combined with the history of what other symptoms are going on, we can work out what root causes do we need to look for that are driving the gut health issues in the first place. Could be mold exposure, could be heavy metals, environmental chemicals, parasites, Lyme disease, or it could be a combination of some or all of the above. But what I've found is when we then deal with those, the gut is then going to heal. And when the gut heals, so many symptoms around the body, including a lot of these sexual health problems, are going to take care of themselves. If you're suffering with these issues and you want to get on top of them, go and find a doctor or a functional medicine practitioner who can help doing those specific tests. If you've got questions or you want to reach out to me, just click in the description box and you'll see the link to my discovery call. And that's where we get on a call together for about 45 minutes and work out what exactly is going on and give you the action steps for what testing you need to do and help you get to the bottom of it all.